Who am I? Am I just this body? When I look into a mirror, what am I looking at? Is that me? Is there more to me than my physical image? When I introduce myself to others, how do I let them know who I am? I may start with my name, my occupation, my relationships, my age, my address, and other descriptions about my life. But these are all physical things. These are all external descriptions of me. Is there more to me than this? Who am I? What is my spiritual identity? My spiritual identity. My eternal identity is soul. I am a soul, a being of energy. My appearance is like a tiny star, a radiant being of pure energy. I imagine myself free from all the influences of my daily life for a moment, floating free as a star, pure, vibrant, radiant energy. I am a being of peace. Not just a momentary absence of disturbances, but a very real and permanent peace. Within my nature of peace, I also find love. Not the temporary love of passing phases, but a deep sense of self-respect and compassion. I reconnect with my spiritual identity, with my true nature of peace and love. Gently, I sense that I'm sitting inside this body. My energy returns, and I know who I am.
Remember that when I was young, there was so much fear around. As a 9-year-old child, my mother would let me run to the corner shop in London, and she'd put a £1 note in my hand and give me a list of things to get, and I'd run, and the shopkeeper would give me a big smile and give me whatever it is was on that list, and then he'd make sure I was holding the change very tightly in my hand so that it didn't drop out, and I'd run back again. I cannot imagine a mother being able to say to a 9-year-old girl anymore, or a boy, doesn't matter, run down to the corner shop and get this for me. That little illustration just gives me an indication of how society has changed. And there is so much fear constantly, continually, in every situation in life. For example, I know that in London again, when I was growing up, I didn't feel that there was any racial barriers. And then there came a moment when there was a massive influx of people of color from Africa. They were coming in because of a political situation in that country, and so it was Asians who came to London, a big number, and people became very afraid. They were afraid of the immigrants, and the immigrants were afraid of them, and it was a general situation that came up. And so there's a lot of fear on both sides, people who perpetrate violence, but also people who are the victims of violence. And that's not a healthy society. If your actions are going to be fear-based, what happened to love? What happened to being able to see my neighbor and loving my neighbor? And so I see that you can't legislate for these things. Most countries do have some sort of anti-discrimination laws in place, but to what extent can you change people's hearts and minds through laws? I don't think you can. But when people begin to understand something, then there's a shift. And I know for myself, having been in situations where there was racial discrimination, I was lucky. I was already on a spiritual path when I was faced with this. And so once I had to face this, I had to ask myself the question, what's going on inside of me? Am I going to react and run, or am I going to leave the country? What am I going to do? And the first thought that came was that, well, I can't expect the other to change. If I wait for others to change, I don't know how long that's going to take. What I can do is come back to the inner being and get in touch with my own inner core values and have respect for myself and have that inner dignity in which no one outside can take that dignity away from me. When I start seeing myself as a spiritual being, then I can identify that whatever it is that's causing the discrimination or the bullying is something that's very external. Color obviously is one thing, gender might be another thing, but in the case of bullying, the other person is seeing me as someone inferior, and so they can oppress me. And the change that happens within the self is that I change my perception of myself. I'm no longer fragile, I'm no longer weak, I'm no longer an employee, but I am an individual filled with all virtues and all treasures, and I come back to that understanding of who I truly am as that inner being.
I relax. I relax my body completely. And gently, very gently, I step into silence. I step inside myself. And in the silence, I disconnect from the things around me. I relax. I am still. And for the next 10 minutes, I will remain inside myself. I will remain in this silence, concentrating and keeping myself disconnected from all the things around me. Taking this journey inward, I wish to know myself. I want to be with myself and not think of anything else. Beyond worry, beyond fears, beyond the noises of the outside, I become still. Gently, I concentrate, and I ask myself, who am I? Who am I really? Am I this name, this body, this nationality? Or is there something more to my existence? In the silence, I focus my mind and concentrate on the center of my forehead. And as I focus, I visualize a point of light, a point of eternal energy. I understand. I am this light. I am this point of spiritual energy. I am here. I am the soul, a point of living light, the spiritual being. This is who I am. And as I journey deep, very deep within myself, I remember, I realize that I have great resources, great power within myself. I am a soul, and inside me lies all my experiences, my identity, and all the things I need to make my life happier and more peaceful. Who am I? I am a spiritual being, a point of eternal light. I let these thoughts penetrate my mind. I concentrate on these thoughts completely. I am a soul. I am immortal energy. I am peace. Peace is my original strength. Within myself, I visualize a pool of energy. This energy is the energy of peace. I go deeper and deeper within my peace. I remain in this experience. I remain within this consciousness. My original and deepest quality is of peace. Peace is my original nature. Peace is my original strength. And the deeper I go into myself, the deeper I go into my original peace. I am no longer distracted by all the things outside me. I remain in this consciousness. There is only peace, only silence. Peace and silence. I feel myself becoming free. I feel myself becoming stronger. I feel myself becoming lighter, stable. As my thought, so my consciousness. I allow this thought and this feeling of pure peace and harmony to flow throughout my being. Now, peace flows through me. Peace, harmony, freedom belong to me. I am strong. I am full. I am content. I am in peace. Now in this silence, I am completely inside, very quiet, very still. I am at one with myself. I find contentment. I am at peace. I begin to remember myself. I begin to understand myself. I begin to accept myself. And as I remember, and as I accept, I respect my original being, and love emerges. I feel confident. I feel secure. I feel there is a great stability now. There is strength, and there is the power to create a life of quality, a life of meaning, a life of purpose. I have found my focal point, my inner compass to direct my external life. And as I remain here, inside, I ask myself, where do I come from? In the stillness, I hear the silence. I listen, and I realize that my original home is very, very far from this world of sound, of time, of matter. I come from a world of eternal light, a world of silence, a world of peace. That is my home. This is where I come from. And with my thought, I travel upwards to the world of liberation, the world of nirvana. Let me remain in this consciousness of the self, of the peaceful self, and the peaceful home. Peace, harmony, and silence. Let me remain here. Peace and silence. Only silence.
Om Shanti, everyone. I hope you enjoyed that half an hour of a deep dive, meditation, introspection, reflection. I was thinking today as I was walking around, how easy has it been for you to stay in a routine? As I've shared in the past that, our routine here starts from 4 o'clock in the morning. Then we have a regular class at 6:15, and these are all for the advanced students that have studied at the Meditation Museum. But what about you? Have you created a very, very personal, intentional routine? And I don't just mean the routine of when you get up in the morning, you go and you brush your teeth and you go make your cup of coffee. Yes, that's there. But what happens after coffee? Do you have a place in your home that it's like your sacred space? In our place at the ashram, we have one specific place that we call the Baba's room or the quiet room. And it's in that space that we go with only the purest vibrations, or we speak about our certain issues that we might feel are coming up in our minds. And we empty it there, but also receive the power there. So this might be a really good time to look for a place in your home that you can make it your sacred space, your quiet place, your prayer place, your meditation place. And in that particular area in your home, nobody goes in and does anything there but to pray, to meditate, to reflect, to be quiet. And even if the kids are naughty, don't send them into that part of the room. Send them somewhere else. But then after they've realized what they've done, then say, would you like to join me in the quiet room? just to think about what you've done. If you do this every day and you commit to going into that space with the intention of doing it first thing in the morning, let's say you start a routine, you go there every morning, you get up, you brush your teeth, you wash your face, you get your coffee, whatever's your routine. But let's just say after that point, you make a commitment to take care of the soul. And so you go into that place with your notebook and pen and sit. And the first thing you do when you go into your quiet space is to listen. What thoughts are emerging in your mind first? Write those thoughts down. Look at them. Read them over if you can. And see if they're useful for you. See if you can recognize if this is holding you back. Do these thoughts make you climb or shine, or are they adding to your fear factor or your worry? Of course, it's a time in which we all have concerns, predominantly about our health first, secondly, our economic health, third, relationship health, and then definitely our mental health. What are these days of exile doing for us financially, emotionally, relationship-wise, and physically? And is there a thought that is coming in your mind right now that has you feeling afraid? Are you worried? Because you can worry and you can't change anything about it. Or you can be aware that certain things might be uncertain and change the thought pattern of that worry into something more creative. What can we do? What will we do? What is the opportunity here? Why are we in this position? To start to ask these questions to the family. And I would always recommend, and it's not always easy, I live also with other individuals, and we have consistently had discussions about maintaining some continuity of similar thoughts to help to expand the family's future. So for example, let's say, I'm just give you a hypothetical conversation. Let's say I'll sit with the family and I'll say something to one person and say, look, instead of thinking about, what this person is doing, why don't you think about us getting millions, right? And then the person would be like, well, but you don't understand. So-and-so has said this to me. So-and-so did that. I go, yes, I know. And all that energy you're putting into so-and-so who said and did, you can't change it. How about if you say, let us see how we can attract abundance into our home? So whether it's the kids, your in-laws, your mother, your father, your spouse, there must be a time in your home where collectively you say, look, things don't look so good as a family right now for us. We have to be very, very careful. I have the habit of going around the house and keep turning off the lights. We have a dryer that just won't turn off. So if you put the clothes in the dryer, you have to turn it off within 45 minutes or it's going to keep going on and on. And today I went and the dryer was on for like 4 hours. And so I'm thinking about the economic ways, what the electrical bill is going to be like. And the person who put the clothes in the dryer didn't have the same awareness of the importance of that. So it will take a long time to keep reconfirming with your family why this is important. It's important because if you don't think about our well-being as a community, as a family in the long run, we're going to be on the streets. We might have to start to beg. We might end up in these situations. We have to let it be clear that if you don't do this, this is going to be the consequence of these choices. And even though you might say it once, twice, 5 times, 10 times, it is also your test paper to see if you're sincere with the vision for your home. There always will be 1 or 2 people in the home who intentionally know how important and how serious it is for you to get along and to have the same intention and the same values. Because when a lot of people have the same intentional, pure thought, especially at the same time, something profound can happen. I mean, if you and the family just sat for the last 30 minutes together in meditation, listening to those beautiful commentaries, guided meditation, didn't you feel like your whole household felt more at peace? Didn't everybody calm down? Didn't your spirit feel fresh? That's the point I'm trying to make. If you can convince your spouse, your teenager, your mother, your father, your grandmother, your in-law, your roommate, just have a really serious meeting and say, guys, around breakfast or dinner, what can we do? Ask each other, what are your greatest dreams? And say, I want to support that. And here's what my dream is for our collective as a family. I'm half Indian, half African, and I've noticed that on my family side of the Indian, there's always been a very natural focus of collective investment, where the whole family would be together as one unit. And I've noticed that there weren't really financial strains because everyone sort of supported each other. In our society now, many of us wish to come out and live on our own, to have our own privacy and our own solitude, and I respect that as well. I'm just wondering if there's another way. If there's another way to be able to somehow find a collective, unified idea and process that can bring us towards abundance, better relationships, better mental state of mind, more financial abundance, and greater health. Greater health. Today I kind of scanned through a little bit of social media, not very much, and I was so tickled to, look at some of the Instagram videos from like Ellen and some of these individuals who are trying to find a way to pass their time. And I'd like to make some suggestions about how best to pass your time during our exile with the coronavirus, if you'll give me a chance. But just to go back a little bit with Ellen, it was so funny. She was like all on her couch, like acting like she didn't know what to do, and then she would call up Oprah, and then she would call up Kevin Hart, then she would call up Michelle Obama. So what you doing? Oh, just sitting here. It was just really cute because she's such a go-getter and she's done so much, and her whole work has been about, her production work for the Ellen DeGeneres show. I also enjoyed watching Oprah having Pastor Whips do a beautiful, beautiful rendition of Amazing Grace, and just allowing that energy to flow through you. I enjoyed watching Chris Martin from Coldplay asking the audience to send him songs that he could play. I enjoyed watching John Legend doing his music rendition. There's a lot of opportunity to pass the time, to be of service, but what's interesting is even though we are isolated or in exile, either by yourself or with people that you love or people you don't care much about right now, there's still this need to be social. Have you noticed that? There was I think it was, don't quote me on this, but anybody, if you can Google it, and if I had the chance I'll Google it now, but there was a wonderful TED Talk, and it was about a research about what kills people faster. And you thought it would be all these factors that are out there in the world, and it said it was loneliness. That loneliness was the biggest factor of making people die early. And you know what actually made us live longer? Being in social settings. So I think it's a real natural tendency for us to be naturally connected. So like how we are, our museums are closed. We're not happy about that, that's for sure. We want to be able to touch you, to see you, to hear you laugh, to hear you cry. We want to hear you tell us what's been bothering you. We want to hear you tell us what was your latest victory, what was your latest triumph. And we're not able to do that right now, but yet we're still able to be social via the ethers, via the network, via YouTube. And I'm hoping that this is sustaining you as much as it has for us. So I think that we must accept that being social is a very important part of our survival. And if we need to be social and yet we're in isolation, whether you're married to one person and a dog or two cats, or you're at home with your three cats, or you're at home with teenagers, in which I love what Bishop Carlton Pearson said in our conversation last week, that parents have to decide what they want to do. Do you want the kids to stay in and drive you crazy, or do you want them to go out and maybe get a virus? So you have to decide. You have to make up your mind. Where do you want your kids? So, for the parents who are stuck at home with their teenage kids, you have to make a real solid decision here. So, if they're going to stay in home, I would recommend to give them a project, give them a filming project with their iPhone. Ask them to come up with a story that they'd like to tell about their family that would be funny or inspiring so that they can use that time in a good way. That's a good way because kids are always on their phone, but they're not doing anything constructive. What if they could really document and create a short story with all the siblings? If it's an only child, well, they can do it by themselves. If they have brothers and sisters, they can sit together, come up with an idea, and then we can broadcast it. And I just got off of a meeting call with the CEO and founder of Conscious Good. And if you haven't heard of that network or that streaming platform, I'd ask you to go and Google them right now or after our show, consciousgood.com. I'll definitely talk to the CEO and see if we can somehow get some of these playful, wonderful videos done by some of the kids. I think it'll be a wonderful opportunity to use their time in a worthwhile way and perhaps even create a legacy for their future, right? That's something that we've learned to do since the corona. Santosh has been an incredible resource. We've set up our living room to be this for you so we can come into your home. We didn't do this before. We learned it. We sat, we talked about it, we see what we could do, and it's happening. So find a way for your kids to be engaged with already what they have, their tools, or else they're going to be very bored with you. Invite them in the kitchen to learn about a meal, how to cook a meal, how to cut vegetables, how to bake cookies, how to make rice, how to stock up the fridge, make it entertaining, play some music, incorporate it. This is a time that you're going to have to be creative or else you're going to go up a wall, okay? So make sure you look for that. Now, in terms of your own personal time and your soul care, make sure you create that quiet room in your home, in your apartment. Have your little meditation chair or your seat. Have a nice subtle white or violet light. Have a focal point. You can use a candle or you can use an image. I like the image of light that I have behind me that just reminds me that I come from the light, I am light, and light is conducive, it symbolizes the original qualities of your personality. Did you know that your personality is so filled with love, that it has so much purity, it has so much peace in it, so much silence and so much wisdom? Did you know that? The minute you start to believe in that and the minute you start to know that, you become illuminated. You become a light being, which means your aura, your personality will create a kind of presence that can touch not only the lives of your family, but outside of your family. So find that place in your home that is your private place. The second thing is, as I mentioned earlier, check what those thoughts are saying to you when you wake up first thing in the morning. That usually will signal to you what's been going on with you throughout the day. The first thoughts that you have in the morning have a lot to do with the way you lived the day before. So that's what I'm going to ask you to do. Tomorrow morning, check what are your first thoughts when you arise. Note that down. See if it feeds your fear, worry, uncertainty, lack of vision or purpose. Or see if it serves your courage, fortitude, creativity, purpose, abundance. And if it happens to not support you, just don't serve it. You have to rewrite that sentence or rewrite that thought for you. Because if those waste or negative thoughts get you off guard, before you know it, post-karuna will end up to be your worst nightmare because you weren't paying attention. Okay? So check that thought form first thing in the morning. After that, take a shower, get dressed, make breakfast for everyone, put on one of my podcasts from America Meditating, or put on some of your favorite music. If you don't want any noise because it's the only time you feel you can be silent, then go back into what you recognized first thing in the morning with your thought and play with how you can transform that waste thought into something of wonder. The more you practice that, the more you start to feel like a new you, a different you starts to emerge. You really start to feel like, I no longer want to serve this person anymore that I have been. It has been serving my fear, it has been serving my worry, and I can't control what's happening in America. I can't control this virus that's rampant, but I control the way that I want to deal with this situation, okay? So please pay attention to your thoughts and feelings, and that's my big advice for you in terms of your meditation and your awareness, especially in the morning. I've also mentioned in the past the practice of traffic control. Every one of our Brahma Kumari centers around the world, we pause every hour on the hour and we step into our Om Shanti, I'm a peaceful soul, and we connect to God, the divine, the ocean of peace, and it's as if we're allowing the feeling of that energy to transcend. So let me break it down in very simplistic terms. It's like you turn on Spotify, which is my favorite network, and you turn to your favorite song. You hear the song, and before you know it, your feet start moving, or your heart starts to pump. And you just start to have these really nice endorphins, like you feel good endorphins, right? You're just feeling good. In the same way, when you consider yourself to be Om Shanti, a peaceful soul, and you really start to think about, where's God in all of this? Have I turned my heart off from God? And is He trying to penetrate my consciousness for me to be stronger, powerful, purer? It's like the sun. The sun is out, but the clouds are covering it. So the clouds would be your waste thoughts. And the waste thoughts, they're not allowing the sun to come in to make you flourish. So if you can practice every hour on the hour, your traffic control, let the whole family do it, everyone. Invite them into this exercise. If you don't want to practice on being peace, then have the whole family practice that same intention that you spoke about around the dinner table. You see a dramatic difference in the vibrations in the home and also in yourself. So let these few days be of self-care and soul care. Not just jogging, not just going to the beach, not just doing anything, but come up with a plan to make your morning routine very efficient. So you got your morning time, your notes, you make your breakfast, you listen to something inspiring, you pause every hour in the hour, you do this for yourself, and you don't change this for anything in the world. You stay fixed. You have your lunch at the right time, you maybe snack if you want, take a rest if you can, make your meetings, get everything going with your Zoom or Skype or phone calls or teleporting or what have you. But don't stop pausing for that hour, every hour in the hour, just mental pause. And you'll feel a very big difference before you turn in, when you turn in at night. Okay? Are there any questions for today?
What are the blockages for easy meditation?
Well, one of the main blockages I've experienced personally in my early days of meditation is to expect that I should have a great meditation experience. So I'd like you to just put that aside. Let's look at meditation as having a dialogue with yourself. Like let's say if you've broken up with your best friend, and what you want more than anything else is for you and your best friend to talk again. But every time you pick up the phone to call him or her, there's a resistance. We've all been there, no? There's a resistance in your heart. There's a thought, well, he shouldn't have done that. She shouldn't have done that. That thought of resistance is what's the block. So when we go into meditation, we sometimes feel like we are expecting something to happen, or we've been having a lot of thoughts that have been wasteful. And so we don't know how to make the connection in meditation. And looking at a candle is not going to do it. So here's my recommendation. First and foremost, accept how you're feeling before you get into meditation. I've had days when I just, I sit down or I'm walking and I go, I just feel so crappy. And I call God Baba because it just humbles me. But I'll just say, Baba, I don't feel good today. I just don't feel good today. I mean, did I mess up yesterday? Did I have a waste thought? What's going on? Is this my personality that's from my past that's interfering in my present? I will ask honest questions to myself or to God. I guarantee you, just asking that question about how you're feeling before you go into meditation will start to open up the clouds, will start to disseminate the clouds. The second step in really helping to unblock the meditation is to start to tell yourself, or start to kind of look at yourself and say, I know that the spirit is in this body. And I know that what I need to serve is my spirit. It's the soul. And the only way I can serve you is to talk to you with kindness, with love, and respect. And when you start that kind of an internal dialogue and awareness with yourself, automatically blockages will start to move. Blockages come from a variety of things. Predominantly, every blockage comes because of a past experience the soul has had, period. And because we're still attached to how that felt, it interferes in my clear connection to Source. Just this morning, I called a friend of mine in Germany, and I was telling her, I still have this moment of solitude, even though we've been extremely engaged. We've really had a good engagement with our scheduling since this has all began. But put that aside. When I have my moments of quietude, I was telling her, there's one thing I'm sad about, and I just wish I would overcome this. And I'm going to aim to overcome this situation during my exile with Corona. So check if there's anything that's still sitting in your heart that has like it's pulling your attention, like a 2-year-old. When you want to go left, a 2-year-old wants to go right. And that honesty with yourself to say, God, this is what's going on with me and this person or this group or this situation. And just then say, this is how I would love it to be. And from that place, begin to check what virtue, what quality is needed to help to repair it. And then just little by little, put a little bit of that in, whether it's a thought form or even in a word, or even with a text, or even with an email, or setting it up that you can somehow connect in some way or the other physically after we get a chance to be with each other. So these are my thoughts. I hope that was helpful for you.
Another question is, what should be our mental process be like before going to bed?
Well, I can tell you what I do. Before going to bed, I like to listen to a lot of classes. I have a lot of friends who are great teachers. And so I will just leave on my phone with a class knowing that, what do they call that word? Osmosis? Like I just know it's going to feed my personality and it's taking care of me. So that's one thing that I do. The other thing that I do on some nights is I will lay in the bed and I know that the soul in the body is going to become unconscious, which we call sleep. So I know that when it becomes unconscious, I wonder, where are you going to go tonight? What dream state, what state are you going to go to? And because of our teachings of Raj Yoga meditation, I will lay there and I will look at the soul inside of the body and go, where are you going to go tonight? And I'll say, I just want to go and sit next to God and fall asleep. So then I'll take my mind into this really beautiful, quiet space where God resides and just say, I want to say goodnight to this entity. Now, because I sleep by myself and I don't have anyone, that might be easy. But if you sleep with your husband, your spouse, or partner, and the person wants to watch Jay Leno, I don't know who are the night people, forgive me, Stephen Colbert and Jimmy Fallon and all of these people, while you want to have a peaceful moment, then wear earplugs. Wear earplugs, or create a compromise and just say, hon, I heard this wonderful program and I thought you'd really enjoy it. Or put on one of the meditations that are on our Pause for Peace app and play that before going to bed. Another state of mind that you can go to bed in is keep a journal by your bed and write down your thoughts about how your day went, and let it be like you're unloading. Like, I'm not taking to sleep, all the things that I've done today. I'm going to take to sleep just being at peace and accepting that I did the best that I could today, and then fall asleep. And I guarantee you, your morning rise will be very splendid.
Another one is is a little big one. How do we send good wishes and vibes? Is it as simple as thinking nice thoughts about the person or situation and changing all waste and negative thoughts consciously?
Great question.
For the people?
Great question. How do you send good vibes to people? How do you even know you're sending good vibes to the people? Your proof that your thoughts of good wishes on people outside of your home is how well are you treating the people inside your home. I hate to tell you that. But if you're not able to have good thoughts for the people that you live with, even when you're sending your good thoughts to people outside of your home, it's sort of like, what is that thing where you kind of shoot an arrow, but it doesn't have a lot of energy, so it just plops? What do they call that again? It's just like you're trying to shoot something to go far, but because it doesn't have enough energy, it just plops the moment it comes out of the barrel, so to speak. So it's not a bad thing to wish someone to be benefited across the ethers, or your next door neighbor that won't cut his tree, or has a barking dog, or stays up late at night and plays loud music. That you do want to know that when you have good wishes for people, the first person that benefits from that act is you. But if you turn to your spouse and you hate him or her, or you turn to your kid and they're getting on your last nerve, or you're not happy with your mother-in-law or somebody, then that's reducing your capacity of that thought to travel. So how do you know your good wishes are working? You will feel them. Your service for the life of others has everything to do with the way you feel when you think of that person, or when you come into connection with that person. And if, for whatever reason, sometimes you think of certain people, you're going to get mixed thoughts, like you really love them but you don't like them. There's work to do there. So what I do in that state, when I feel that mixed thought, I'll just back up and leave it for a little, because I don't want to fool myself. I either love you or I like you. I want to love and like you, right? So I think about, what would it be like if I actually liked this person? That's the question I ask. And then from my mind, I will feel like I'm having this encounter with the person based on like, not just love and respect. I like this person. And I've watched how my whole heart and my whole physiology just shifts just by me accepting that I just like them, even though we don't have that kind of relationship. It's a practice, because our energies, the cloud has blocked a lot inside of us.
Another question. I have noticed it is a big test to meditate when surroundings are noisy. Any tips to enhance meditation when the quiet place is not quiet? Do due to big tests of life, drama, etc.
Actually, the best meditators are able to meditate when there's a lot of noise, when you're on a train, when you're on a plane, when you're in a parking, when you're in a gathering of a lot of people. And I'll tell you why it's so important to practice that. Consider the outside noise to be all the waste thoughts that you've not been paying attention to. And in the same way how you're feeling that when the environment is noisy, you can't feel your stillness, that's the same way your soul feels. When you allow waste and negative thoughts to run rampant in your personality, and the real you is saying, can I just have a moment of stillness with you? And you're not even paying attention to that call. But here's how it looks now. When you start to pay attention to your quality of thoughts, and you begin to be very sincere and honest with the way that you're feeling as a result of your thoughts, eventually you will ignore whatever distractions are going on outside of you. And what will start to expand is your real self, your real energy of presence and vibration. And you'll have more of a focus of your energy of silence than the distraction of the noise. And what I've seen, and I've seen it at the museum countless times, as your silence increases as a person, you will radiate that vibration in the atmosphere. The atmosphere will feel your silence and will start to become quiet. It's as if your silence will drown out the noise and the disturbance. That's one thing. Another thing, if you find yourself judging and criticizing the noisy environment when you're trying to meditate, that's not going to make your meditation any better. So what I would recommend that you do is accept, gosh, it's noisy here. Let me see if I can just find one thought in myself that I can believe in and feel right now. And just do that. And just try it. Try it at an airport, even though we're not supposed to fly. You see, we still speak language that doesn't even make any sense anymore. I just caught myself, like none of us are flying. But, you go to Costco still? Try it there. It's a good try. It doesn't have to just be silent for you to meditate. Your silence will happen when you find the courage to listen deeply within yourself, that you reach an extent that I'm not bothered by you disturbing me. Example, have you ever been somewhere where the person is heckling you for money or begging you for something? What do? You roll up the windows, they can bang on the door, or they're asking for money and you're where? You're focused somewhere else. I'm not interested. So when you're in a noisy place, stop taking your attention to where the noise is. If you really want to meditate, then roll up your windows and stop focusing on them. Look straight ahead inside of myself and say, I am love, whatever your language is. I am peace. My truth is in me. I'm powerful. I'm pure. And before you know it, as you keep creating it, they will leave.
I think he got the answer, but he was asking, what about like children entering the room in a classroom?
When children are entering in the room, you lock them up in a closet. That's a tricky one. I have suggested to parents, when the children do enter the room for the meditation, bring them on your lap and say, why don't you come here and meditate with Dad? Would you like to have a happy thought with Daddy? Let's play a game. Let's see who can have the happiest thought. Come and sit here next to me. Sit them on your lap. And as you start to become more peaceful, they will start to gradually calm down. I can guarantee that. Don't lock them up in the closet anyway. I was just kidding. That's it. Well, thank you for those wonderful questions today. I really enjoyed our time together. And I hope you've been enjoying our 6:30 to 7:30 segments daily. So far, that's what we're going to be offering during this particular time of exile. And again, if you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to call us or contact us. We are here for you. I just want you to know that. We're going to be looking forward to offering some online programs for you by some of our great, great teachers. So stay tuned with that, and you are most welcome to share these 1-hour segments daily. We call them our spiritual sustenance. So hopefully you're taking a lot of benefit and staying safe. Please stay home, be careful, and many, many blessings to you and your family. And, please be safe. Heaven's in your heart.